video, I will be just exploring the difference between compose and variable. So whether we should use compose or whether we should use variable. So I'm just creating a simple flow. So I'm just manually triggering a flow. So first, let's take an example of variables. So in variables, you have option to initialize a variable, set a variable, and then you can append and you can increment and decrement the variable. Now initialize variable. So take for example, if I have a variable, now I have this variable called as var x, and this time it's an integer and I put a value as to val. So what I can do with this, I can do some operation. So I can increment the variable. So if I click on increment variable, I just need to specify var x and I want to increment by 2 val. So initially the variable is 12, but let's assume I will now increase this by 100. So technically the output when I run, it should be 112, right? So let me save this and let me test this. Okay, done. And if you see the input, so integer 12 and the increment variable 100. So if you see the show raw output, it is incremented by 100. So you get 112 as a value. So this is simple initialization of variable. Now, see, in the same variable, can you put the value as string? No, you cannot do that. So if you want to have a string variable, then you need to again go ahead and initialize another variable. So initialize, and this time I'm gonna pick up string. So var name, okay, and this time this is string, and then I'll put some value, say Girish, and this is how you can set a variable. And so what I've done, I've got two variable, integer to store integer value, I've got string variable to store string value. Now there are other options. I can use object, I can use array, I can use float, integer, boolean. So all these options are available, but you have to use one at a time because it is strongly typed. Now in the project, whenever you are testing something, sometimes the variable types are different, or you want to put the output of some control in one of the block and verify whether it is coming correct or not. So at that time you will definitely use compose action, and this is like I would say developers action, which all the developer might be using it. Now it has got inputs over here. Now what you can do over here in inputs, you can put anything literally. So I'll just put Girish Uppal over here. If I press enter, I can put some numbers, I can put some value over here, I can even put my say JSON value. Okay, so this is a JSON representation. I can put this, and I can even put a very very long string. So let me get the string from my dev toys. So say I have a big lorem of some text, I can put that over here, and then I can run this, and then I can even say if I'm troubleshooting some flow and I want to see what was the value coming up, I can see from here, I can get the dynamic content, I can say, hey, okay, when I manually trigger a flow, what are the inputs if I'm inputting it. So city or name, or if you're using Dataverse connector, you can get to see a whole list of item with regards to the column name or unique identifier, or if you want to know the drop down value of a specific column or a lookup value, those all things you can put. So that's basically the difference between compose and variable. So variable is strongly typed, you need to explicitly define what data type does it belong to, and then you can only use that value. So in this example, I've used var x integer, and I have used an operation to increment the variable. Now here I have just defined string. I have an option to uh, use even an array as well. So if you see here, I have an option to use array, object, float, integer, boolean, and accordingly the control next control changes. Okay, so increment variable, you cannot use it to increment a string. Okay, it is only specific to a number. Okay, so that's the option you get. But in compose, you can merge all the data type value in one particular action. So that's the benefit of using compose. And compose is not structured, it is an unstructured thing. You can put anything over here. There's no specific limit as such what you can put. And as you see over here, I put a long string text and it will safely accept that. So if I click on save, and if I click on test, it should not complain, and it should uh, basically run this flow. So it's just running. And as you see over here, this flow has run successfully, and it has even taken that compose action into consideration. So basically that's the difference between compose and variable. So variable is just specifically for a specific data type, and there are quite limited data type available in Power Automate. But in compose you can do whole bunch of injection of data within that specific action. Thanks for watching.